Hi, this is Majo John Madden broadcasting from central Mexico. I'm just a few blocks off the main drag in a tiny little town called El Diamante, which is right on the Carretera, which is an interstate highway that runs from Tuxpan, pretty significant city, to Veracruz, which is a big resort area. And if you stay on the road I've been on, it'll take you another 3 or 4 hours to get to Veracruz. Back through, if you look back through there, and my iPhone does some kind of funny things with the light, it's not really that bright. But through those trees back there, occasionally you'll see a car moving pretty quick. There's a superhighway through there that could get you to Veracruz in a couple hours. I don't really want to do that. There's the taxi going by. So here on this road, you'll get an occasional car or taxi or pickup truck or motor scooter. But where I was about to have breakfast at the restaurant back there, it was going to be real noisy with truck traffic. I'm wanting to make a video about the product I'm offering these days called Estoy aquí por usted. I'm here for you. Here comes the truck. We'll hear a little truck noise. I'm here for you. It's the current iteration of what I've been doing for several years, which has been under the name of Being with Majo. Being with Majo. Like most Americans, and I'm an American, I've been in Mexico for 3 months and becoming more Latino, but still pretty much an American. And like most Americans, here comes a motor scooter with a big load, delivering stuff, maybe refrigerated stuff, maybe some ice back there. Like most Americans of my generation, for sure, I was all about doing. Do. Busy, achieve, accumulate, consume, run, very fast. A guy who influenced my generation a lot, back in the 70s, I guess, was a guy named Richard Alpert, who was an early LSD researcher with Tim Leary at Harvard, doing serious research till the government got scared about it. But whereas Tim Leary continued with psychedelics, Richard Alpert turned to meditation. He went to India, as so many people did back in the day, the Beatles and all kinds of other people. He went to India and studied under a guy named Maharaj Ji, who gave him the name Ram Dass. And under the name Ram Dass, he wrote a book called Be Here Now, which in my generation, I'm 76 now, turned a whole lot of us from drugs to meditation and learning the joy of just being, which I didn't have a clue about how to do back then, not a clue. And over the years, I studied meditation under various teachers, taught it myself. At one point at Syracuse University, I was teaching over 100 people per session how to meditate. And not honestly being very good at it myself, but a little better than them. Well, these days I'm pretty good at it. I don't call it meditation, I call it being. I don't follow my breath necessarily. I don't count my breaths. I don't use a mantra. I had a big spiritual experience just about 4 years ago. This is June 22, I'm pretty sure today. And on June 26 of 2019, I had a huge spiritual experience where 30 years of pretty outrageous, wretched pain from having been misdiagnosed as bipolar and taking awful pharmaceutical drugs. All fell away from me. I hit bottom, turned it over. And there's a precedent for doing that. Eckhart Tolle is a famous guy who wrote a book called The Power of Now. He hit a low point, and the way I know his story, I've heard it told other ways, but I'm pretty sure the way his story worked was he fell asleep on a park bench at a very low point where he was really giving up on his life, and woke up and everything had shifted. He was happy and peaceful, and spent weeks just sitting on park benches and being with people and offering his peace to other people. Byron Katie is another semi-famous personal growth person. She has something called The Work, and the stuff she does is actually quite good and quite deep. This is a big truck. Big truck. She had the same thing happen to her. She hit a very low point, was ready, planning the next day to end it all. Fell asleep and woke up fine. And she's been teaching and helping many, many people ever since. She's not as famous as Eckhart Tolle, and I'm not as famous as her. And am learning not to count on being famous, but to count on being. It's all that counts. That's all that counts. And when you know how to be, then you pretty much more easily become aware of what it is you want to offer, because being is not enough. We're all here on this planet to help other people, walking our brothers back home, our brothers and sisters. And when I had my big spiritual experience 4 years ago, I became kind of obsessed with, well, how do I offer this, all the great stuff I'm learning, all the happiness I'm feeling and the peace, how do I offer it to others? And within a few months after that experience on June 26th of 19, the COVID hit. I was living in Asheville, North Carolina, and on March 16th, Asheville shut down completely. All the business shut down. And within less than 2 weeks, I got an offer from a friend. Here come a couple of cars. 3 cars. 3 cars. I'm not going to compete with that noise. So a friend of mine said, hey, Asheville's really pretty terrible right now. I've got a walk-in basement apartment out in the mountains. Come on out here. And I did that, and I got way more peaceful and way more happy. And it was out there that I started to crystallize the notion of what I seem to do these days is to be rather than to do. I'm getting so happy I don't have to do anything. But if I show up in the moment, good things happen between me and other people. I be with them and encourage them to be, and good things happen without trying. I've been a psychologist. I've been a PhD psychologist and psychotherapist. I've been a Fortune 500 management consultant. I've worn lots of titles. I don't want titles these days. The title on my business card reads, Real Human Being, and that's, well, there's a couple of donkeys running around over there. I don't know if you can see them. A lot of donkeys around here. I love that. Several donkeys, maybe a little pony. Mexico's different. Mexico's a lot different than the U.S. in so many ways, and so good for me. So, so I hatched this plan back in the U.S., but it's coming to fruition here in Mexico. And my goal is to end up out at the end of the Yucatan, where there are resorts and people with time on their hands and money that they could pay me for my range of being with services, which I'll mention. But I just in the last couple of days, I am stalled out in this town of El Diamante because my car broke down, and it's going to be almost 2 weeks till it's on the road. And that has worked out really well for me because I've traveled. My first 3 months in Mexico were quite hectic, filled with stress and trauma and just culture shock. And even though I'd been trying to get here for years, when I actually got here, the language was an issue, and I've had problems with GPS, not being able to access my GPS and being lost. And there's been a lot of shock and trauma. But when I've just realized in the last 3 days, you're stopped and you're happy and you're peaceful, do it now. Don't wait till Veracruz or Cancun or Cozumel. Start offering your being with services now. And so what are they? I'm going to go into town today. The local biggest town is Vega de Alator. And I'm planning, I dance. I'm a dancer, and much to my great surprise, I'm a juggler these days. I don't know how or why that would be true. I've never juggled before, but something about how much I'm out of my mind and in my body. Fritz Perls said, lose your mind and come to your senses. I'm in my senses, I'm in my body, and for some reason I can throw and catch balls in a way that dazzles me and sometimes others. I'm sure not a pro, but put on some hot Latina music like Shakira, especially her song, Estoy Aqui, is pretty much my anthem. And I don't know how to translate most of the words of that song, but I know it means I'm here. I'm here. And I've been saying for a couple years that my memoir, should I ever write one, I want it to be titled I'm Here Now, because when I read Richard Alpert Ram Dass saying be here now, I didn't know how to do it, but now I do, and it's what I offer to people. So what we would do together would come out of the moment, would come out of me being me and me encouraging you to be you. We could dance. I'm a dancer. We could go to a club and dance. Not really clubs around here, but there will be in Veracruz and Mexico City and Cancun and places. We could put on some music. I'm about to, when my next check comes in about 10 days, I'm going to buy a big speaker, and we could put on some big music and dance wherever we are. I'm planning to busk juggling today. So I've been doing it for just a few months, but today I'm going to start piloting it in Vega. And I don't have a big speaker yet, but various shops have big speakers. And I could do it in front of a shop, on the street, in the park. We'll see. It's all going to be a big experiment. So you could come watch me juggle. We could juggle together. We could throw balls back and forth. Yesterday I spent a really divine half hour with the 4-year-old at the restaurant there where I've been hanging out because they got great Wi-Fi and they're lovely people. Her and I just kicking the ball around in that empty room because there was nobody else there right then. We could play. You know, when I was being trained as a psychotherapist, I was trying hard to do it right, trying hard to help. What I didn't even know what that meant. And one of my first clients helped me a lot because this guy looked at me and said, you know, Doc, I wasn't a doctor yet, but I was in training. Doc, you're looking awful serious. Am I like really that tough a case? and it was like a good slap in the face. He woke me up like, don't make it serious. Make it fun. Make it playful. And I'm pretty good at play and fun and joy and goofing around. So we could goof around. We could rent bikes and go for a bike ride. We could go look for homeless dogs and give them treats. We could have a hug. I'm good at touch. Part of what I offer is what I call healing touch. I'm not a trained massage therapist, but I've been touching people in healing ways for a long time, and I'm pretty good at it. I've spent the last year and a half along beaches in southwest Louisiana and South Texas, some spectacular beaches. And one of the things I discovered was that over the age of about 30, in Texas anyway, adults mostly don't go in the water. They'll sit in their beach chairs, they'll walk along the water, but they leave it to the kids and the teens and the 20-somethings to go in the water. Well, you need to get in the water, folks. It helped me realize that for a long time, being in the water has been incredibly healing for me, and it's part of why my current vision is to live in some sleepy little beach community in Mexico where I can be in the water every day. And if it's calm, you can float and just go back to that great ocean of life. If it's rough waves, you can sit in 2 inches of water and let the waves toss you around and giggle like a silly person, like a baby, like a kid. Return to childhood. I've had some success helping people do that. So if we're by a beach, we could do that. If you're not local to me at all, we can do all this over the phone, less powerfully. Oh, here's some cattle. He's driving the cattle out into the field now. You could come to Mexico. If I'm in Veracruz or Cancun or Acumal, there's a tiny resort out there. We could play on the beach in Mexico. Or we can play in the park in Vega today or for the next 2 weeks. What is it the comics used to say? I'm going to be here all weekend, folks. Come on back. Well, I'm going to be around Vega and El Diamante for the next couple of weeks. And then Veracruz. And just as of yesterday, I realized I do want to go to Mexico City. People say it's too big. I got to get to Mexico City. Be where the painter Frida Kahlo was. I got to get to San Miguel de Allende, which I just read in Wikipedia yesterday. The Travel and Leisure magazine called San Miguel de Allende, just north of Mexico City, the best city in the world to visit for the beauty and the culture and the architecture and the amenities. So I gotta go there. And then I'll go out on the Yucatan, which is a long ways. So any of those places, come meet me there, meet me on the phone, we can do a video session, or meet me in Vega de Alator today. Okay.